about that. Good evening, everybody. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. Hope I didn't swear in the mic a second ago. Good to have you all with us. We welcome everybody watching tonight on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We thank all the groups that allow us to share. As always, you see some of our favorites scrolling at the bottom of the screen. John Gonzalez at the Sports Authorities. Greg Durrell doesn't apply tonight, but he's one of our favorites, certainly when it comes to baseball. Flo and the gang at Bottom Line Sports. Flo's going to be returning to the States from his active duty assignment here in the next 6 to 8 weeks or so. And they did a show. Him and Kent did a show the other night, and I shared it to our page as well. So welcome back to those guys to the world of podcasting. And they do that on Let's Talk Sports, where there's lots of great podcasts that you can catch as well. Tanner D doing a great job there with his gang. Alan, Scott Colby, a lot of guys podcast there. Who else? Ken Krause at Golf Bud, Sports of All Sorts. We're on Tuesday tonight, guys, instead of Wednesday, as we're going out of town for a few days. We will not have a Jack and Keith's weekend playbook on Friday, so don't be looking for that. I'll put a reminder up on the page on Thursday night or Friday. And we won't have a MLB update on Friday either, but I'll be back with the Sunday stream of consciousness on Sunday. These things are going to happen in retirement. I'm going to have days where I'm not here, entire weeks where I'm not here. But, you know, when we are away and we can do the broadcast, we certainly try to do them. Oh, lots to talk about. Last week was an interesting week for kind of a down week, if you will, after what we saw in week one. Still some important stuff to take a look at. Florida State and Texas rolled. The top 10 pretty much all rolled. Relatively speaking, Arch Manning played much better for Texas. We saw a huge upset with South Florida. I don't think it was as big an upset as a lot of people might think, but huge upset. South Florida knocks Florida right out of the poll, and Florida comes back with LSU this week, so it's not going to get any easy for them. Alex Golish doing a great job at Florida State. And more to talk about. We'll talk about all of that. We'll talk about some other takeaways from week two. Some things to look forward to, some good matchups this weekend. We'll talk about the military academies a little bit. We'll talk about some Bill Belichick news. News all around, plus whatever you guys have to share tonight as well. Michael, good afternoon, good evening to you, my friend. I love bringing the shows to you guys. Appreciate the thanks every week, but man, this is a labor of love for me. Hello there, my friend Danny Fuller. Have they fired Deshaun Foster in UCLA yet? One of my best bets of the week was UNLV last week. Oh, my gosh. Did pretty well. I'm interested in listening to Flo's show. Appreciate what he does. Every time you say Flo, though, I can hear, I can only hear Kiss My Girls. Kiss My Grits. My screen got smaller for some reason on StreamYard, so I'm having a little more trouble reading the comments. That's a good one, though, Michael. Showing your age there, my friend. Showing your age. Interesting week, though. What else went on? Belichick did get his first win over that perennial power, Charlotte. What did we see? Did Oklahoma, is Mateer in Oklahoma, are they the real deal? They listen, I thought they played really well against Michigan. Their defense was really, really good. Bryce Underwood back to earth after a great start against New Mexico. Brent Venables under a lot of fire there, and they've got a game. Who are they playing this week? It must not be as good a game as I thought because I didn't jot it down on my quick notepad. So, but good win for them. And that South Florida game, Billy Napier's right back on the hot seat. I mean, and the spitting incident speaks for itself. Stupid, and disgusting. Oregon rolls over Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy's worst defeat, and Oklahoma's worst defeat certainly in Mike Gundy era. And the Mike Gundy era might be ending in Oklahoma State. I don't know. I don't know who the Ducks are yet. I know Paul Spada or Boston Paul from Wisconsin continues to get mad at. I don't know why they're ranked fourth. That their people are overlooking the Ducks. I don't think anybody's overlooking the Ducks. They had a little extra motivation last week, too, Mike Gundy. And by the way, this is just a reality of where we are in college football, talking about the disparity in money to spend. And Oklahoma State, they've lost their main benefactor in T. Boone Pickens, who passed away a number of years ago. But, I mean, he must have donated, not tens, hundreds of millions of dollars to this university over the years, and was also they've been a benefactor of his oil revenue, if you will. But now they're down to $7 million a year to spend, while Oregon and the likes of Oregon have got about 40. Well, you know, there's good and there's bad, and what are you going to do? But Mike Gundy, I think I'll grow the mullet back is what I think. Stars for Al, thank you so much. Go Patriots, maybe 8 wins now. We'll get into that on Sunday, but not a good effort out of my Patriots on Sunday. Speaking of which, by the way, Bill Belichick has made it clear, since he's not welcome in Foxborough, which, by the way, Mike Vrabel says is not true. We haven't heard from Robert Kraft on the story. Nobody from the Patriots is allowed to scout players at North Carolina. Well, first of all, nobody's going there to look at a lot of those players anyway, because they're not very good. Second of all, why would you you're only hurting your players if you're going to prohibit certain organizations that you harbor a grudge against from visiting your facilities and scouting players? It makes no sense. Come on, Bell. Let's get above the pettiness, shall we? You got to win. Celebrate it. And shut up. Oklahoma, congrats. Defense is solid. And this comes from a Michigan fan in Michael. But Michigan defense stopped Mateer mainly after the first 3 drives. Michigan will be fine. And they will beat Nebraska, which is in a few weeks, I think, right? And that game's in Nebraska. I've already predicted. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, things could change my prediction, but an early prediction. Remember, I predicted this in July. Well, August. I don't think we're on much in July, if at all. Listen, I think the Big Ten is going to be more, at least, I don't know what Oregon is yet. So far, you know, their new transfer quarterback, which they seem to have one every year, has performed well, but they have not played any real competition. Does that change this week? They go to Northwestern. I doubt we're going to learn much more about Oregon yet. Ohio State obviously won at home against a good Texas team. Penn State hasn't played anybody yet. I think the Big Ten is really good. Really deeper, though, than they've been in a while. And I think the two teams, I think we will see a surprise team in that final, that conference final championship game. You'll see probably one of the Blue Bloods in Ohio State, or unlikely to be Michigan. Sorry, Michael. Penn State might finally get over the hump. But I think you see in Nebraska, you see in Illinois. You might even see USC. I don't know. Sorry. I know you're not going to like to hear that, Danny, but I think USC is going to be back in business long before your Bruins, unfortunately. These two teams are not really equipped to move to the Big Ten. And I think USC's addressed their offensive and defensive line issues certainly quicker than UCLA has. And Oregon has adapted quicker because they had bigger, stronger, faster fronts. It sounded like I was describing a $6 million man there for a second. I think Washington was a little more ready for the Big Ten as well. The two Southern California schools seemed unprepared for that, in my mind. We'll see what happens there, of course. Quack, quack, Oregon overrated. There you go, Paul. Where's Paul tonight? Probably didn't get the memo that we were going on Tuesday. We'll have another one, by the way. I've got to do this. Next week will be on Wednesday, but I think the week of the 24th, so the show would be on the 24th, will be on Tuesday that week as well, because I've got a show to go to. We're going to see a Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical. Big fan, and looking forward to that show. I don't know why I brought that up. Oregon just needs to beat Penn State and Ohio State. That's it. Oh, that's all. That's not bad. Well, Penn State doesn't win those games, right? So, I mean, if Oregon's in the top 10, which they probably will be, Penn State probably won't win. Don't they? And I think that's next week, isn't it? At Penn State, expecting a whiteout. Am I right in that? I think, Michael. We can look at the schedules if we don't know for sure, but I think it's next week. You know, I don't know how we do it, Michael, quite frankly. And I thank Danny and anybody who's ever sent me stars. I don't know how it gets done. Danny can kind of give you the heads up on there, on that. And I thank Danny for doing that. But I appreciate anything you guys do. It's not necessary, but certainly, whatever, buys me a beer here and there. I heard that UNC blocking NFL teams, sad and petty. Not all, just apparently, as far as I know, and maybe it's changed in the last day and I haven't caught it, but Belichick's only banning the Patriots in some retaliation for them banning him from their facilities. Number one, he has no reason to go to their facilities. And he has not been banned, according to Mike Vrabel anyway. And two, you're only hurting your players if you ban anybody. I mean, Bill Belichick's got this whole. I love the guy. He brought a lot of joy to my life for 20 years, but he's lost his mind, right? And he hurts his players. If there's any NFL caliber players on that team, I didn't see any 2 weeks ago. I watched a little of the game last week, and the team looked better, prepared, but they played Charlotte. So, you know. The star is to the left. It gives you options, does it? I probably can't see it. That's probably why. Rick Sherlock's with us tonight somewhere. I don't see him, but somewhere he's here. Good evening, Rick Sherlock. Big game for his Georgia Bulldogs this week, going to Rocky Top. I think Tennessee wins this game. That line's moved from 6.5 to 3.5 today. It opened at 6.5. So somebody knows something, is what Coach Corso used to say all the time. I like Tennessee here. I think Aguiar's a really good quarterback. I think Tennessee is much better off with him running this offense than Nico. And I guess UCLA fans can speak to that. But that's probably the biggest game of this week coming up. And we'll look at all of them, and we'll go through the standings real quick of our little pool, and I'll give you my picks. South Florida at Miami is another huge game. A&M is at Notre Dame. Clemson better play better at Georgia Tech. Well coached by Brent Key. On the road, they better play much better than they played against Troy last week. I got a great clip if you guys say, oh, shoot, I lost it. I might still have it teed up. The Brian Kelly clip about talking about Dabo and his grading system. Arkansas and Ole Miss, upset alert there maybe. Florida with a huge game going to the other Death Valley at LSU. Vanderbilt, South Carolina is an interesting game. I like South Carolina. I took them. Jack and my picks, since we won't be doing a show Friday, I'll give you guys what Jack sent me. Jack is taking Clemson minus 3.5 on the road against Georgia Tech. I'm glad he did. He's taking Iowa State minus 20.5 and UTEP plus 41.5 against Texas. Who's Iowa State playing? I didn't write it down here. We should have. Where are you? Iowa State. Who are you playing? I want to give you our picks. Gotta be here somewhere. Blah, blah, blah. Now I can't find it. Jeez, they're probably ranked too high and I can't find them. Just go to the Big 12, will you? So he has big game for Kansas. Kansas needs a win. They're going to Arizona, by the way. Army with again, I'll talk about that in just a second. All over the place. Oh, Iowa State's got Arkansas State. I have got South Carolina over Vanderbilt by 5.5. I have Tulane minus 2.5 against, I believe, Duke, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check that. Yep, I've got them minus 2.5 against Duke at home. And I've got my dog is Tennessee plus the 3.5 over Georgia. That's my picks with Jack. That's not my bets or anything, Scott, just so you know. Good evening, Scott Kobe. How are you? Oregon, Penn State on the 27th. 27th, so I got a couple weeks yet. That's when we'll find out. We'll find out about both of those teams, I think, by the way. By the way, speaking of the highly ranked teams, Miami's moved up to 5. We'll go through the top 25 in a second. The polls get more and more relevant now. You know, Michael and I have talked a couple of times. We've all talked about the relevancy of preseason polls. But I think after a couple of weeks, 3 weeks especially, now the polls really start to take shape, and you start to see them have some relevance. And then, as we get into early November, or maybe it's even late October, we'll have the college football poll to actually take a look at too. So USC needs to play someone first. Everybody's got to play someone first. My sense is that they'll be better. That's all I say. And again, I know you have certainly a personal bias against the Trojans. So that looks like it. Because I think when I get this blank comment, Michael, Danny has pointed out to me, it means I have been sent stars. So thank you so much, Michael. Not necessary, but appreciated. Thank you so much. The Big Ten will not be as good as people think. Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan are the upper echelon. The rest of the teams are battling in the middle tier. I disagree a little bit. Scott, Penn State, again, until Franklin wins a big game, I'm not really counting them as a big contender. Well, they're a contender. In my mind, he's got to win. He's got to win something. He's got to beat somebody. We talk about, Ohio, USC. I talk about Oregon not playing anybody. Anytime James Franklin plays anybody in the top 20, he can't win. He's 4-21, I think, lifetime at Penn State against the top 20. That's just not good. And I think the middle tier of this Big Ten, it's got some good teams. I know I've said this in the past. I think Nebraska's ready to turn a corner. You're going to find out Matt Rule's a really good coach. And Brett Bielema's already shown he's a really good coach with this Illini team from last year. Didn't play well in that first half against Duke last week, but played really well. And that was on the road, by the way, against not a bad Manny Diaz team in Duke. So Nebraska and Illinois, anyway, I think you're going to see a surprise team in the Big Ten championship game. It's going to come down to schedules, right? They all don't play each other. That's one of the problems with these huge leagues and no divisions. You don't play a balanced schedule, so somebody's going to miss Ohio State. Somebody's going to miss Michigan, who always have to play each other. That's where these leagues go off the deep end, right? I mean, Indiana. Well, last year I think they missed. No, did they? I think they got both Michigan and Ohio State last year, if I'm not mistaken. They lost Ohio State. Again, I'm going to say, I know they haven't played anybody, Danny. I got USC's schedule here now. Missouri State and Georgia Southern. Again, I can say that, I mean, UCLA didn't play anybody much better. UNLV's really good, actually. And Utah's better than we thought they'd be and well coached. I shouldn't say that. Actually, UCLA actually played two far better teams than USC. That was a reach for me there. Trying to give you a jab back, and I failed. I whiffed. But they are a team that doesn't see Ohio State, for instance. This is why I think this is a great example. And by the way, them losing Notre Dame potentially after this year would be awful. So anyway, they've got Purdue, who they're going to beat this week. Michigan State at home, I'd say they'd win. Illinois, they'll probably lose. At Michigan at home, I think they're going to beat them. Sorry, Michael. I know you'll be sending me, rethink this game when we get there. At Notre Dame, probably a loss, but won't hurt them in the league. They'll lose to Nebraska. They'll beat Northwestern. They'll beat Iowa. By the way, the Iowa offense that we were all talk was going to be so great because we brought in this great transfer quarterback from South Dakota State. Well, it's the same old Iowa offense. Putrid. He threw for 76 yards or something in the game against Iowa State. They'll get killed by Oregon. They'll beat UCLA. So probably not getting to the championship game, but somebody who, if they're even a little bit better than we think that they are, you go on a run. That's not the gauntlet that some other teams are going to run around the country. Look at Miami's schedule the next 3 weeks. Who's got 3 tougher weeks? And again, we just played Bethune-Cookman. I get it. But who's got 3 tougher games the next 3 weeks than Miami? South Florida, whom are at home. South Florida, Florida, and Florida State. Back to back to back to back. If Florida State's as good as what we saw, and we saw Alabama respond the way they needed to with a thumping of, Louisiana Monroe, right? 73-0. That's how you respond. And Florida State also won 77-3. So again, I think there's a couple teams in there you just have to be wary of. I'm not saying it'll happen. Although I did predict that Nebraska would be in the playoffs. So I did say that will happen. USC, no. USC is just speculation. Things can happen. Who saw Indiana coming last year? Who saw Arizona State coming last year? Arizona State picked last in the Big 12. By the way, nice win for Mississippi State at home over Arizona State in that game last week. September 27th, Oregon, Penn State. The whiteout will happen. I'm not seeing Rick. Oh, there he is. There we are. People are a little slow in Wisconsin. It's not fair. He's not here to defend himself, guys. Come on. Leave our boy Paul alone. I know it's all in good fun. Where was that? Danny's comment. Oh, Michael, what do you got? Belichick is the uncle that always gave you the awesome Christmas presents while you're growing up, but as he got older, it starts smelling more like Peps and not delivering the goods. Wait a minute, that might be me. My wife had a surprise retirement get-together, just some close family and friends, and a very intimate gathering at my favorite Mexican restaurant a week ago Sunday. And I'm telling you, I've never drank so much tequila in my life. All I smelled for 5 days was tequila pouring out of my pores. Oh, we had fun though. Both Georgia cornerbacks are going to be out against Tennessee. That's why the line is dropping. Good. It should drop anyway because Tennessee's a better football team. At least what I've seen so far. I trust their quarterback more. Stockton, and don't you go look at the numbers and you'll say, wow, what did he do last week? Completed like 31 out of something, but he threw like 7 passes of more than 5 yards the entire game last week. Unless Kirby Smart is just holding it back, and he might be laying in the weeds. This might be one of those, snot knockers up and down the field this next week. I like Tennessee a lot. Tennessee, I think, is going to lay the wood to Georgia. I'm not looking for them to blow them out. But you want a dog at home, man? You check the money line. What's the money line now on that, Scott? Tennessee beat Georgia. Yeah, I got exclamation points after that, Michael, not question marks. Colorado is changing, and they're going to their third string quarterback who played last week, I believe, right? Rusty Staub, yeah. No, just kidding. Ryan Staub. And they're pivoting to him to play Houston, which is a league game. We're starting to get into some conference games, a lot more conference games this week. Still some, decent interconference interconference matchups, but we're starting to get into some really good league games, as I said before. Vandy and South Carolina, Florida and LSU, Arkansas, Ole Miss in the SEC. Oregon and Northwestern in the Big Ten. So some interesting stuff to look at. I'm not expecting much out of Colorado. I mean, I thought they were really not good against Georgia Tech. I thought their clock management was horrible at the end. I know Deanne explained it all. And maybe he's right. Where was he going to call timeout? This is 2 weeks ago. But I'm just not sure that, this is, a 31-7 win over Delaware last week is not really going to get me all excited about Colorado still being a top-notch program in the Big 12. But that league is screwy, man. Kansas State lost Army last week. I started to say, did anybody have a bigger turnaround than Army? Again, Kansas State may not be as good as they've been the last several years, but Army loses at home to an FCS school and Tarleton State in overtime, and then goes on the road and beats Kansas State from the Big 12. You can't make it up. But I love college football. Georgia Tech is solid. They can definitely beat Clemson, no doubt. Great point. Thank you. I don't know. I probably shouldn't repeat the great point, Keith. I should let that speak for itself. I feel like I'm patting myself on the back. But that's how I talk to myself anyway, Michael, in my quiet moments. Georgia Tech, I don't know. It might be a bet this week. I'm not sure. I tell you, Brent Key's done a really good job turning that team around. Haynes King has done a very good job of developing as a quarterback there, a dual threat quarterback. And I like that offense that they run. They play pretty good defense. They beat a really good Miami game, pretty much the same team, give or take a few players. Beat a very good Miami team last year before they ultimately went to Syracuse and ruined their season. Good afternoon, good evening to our Toronto correspondent, Chris F. Grave. Happy birthday to late Don Albanese. He would have been 128 today. He would have been collecting Social Security for a long time. He came out of the Ohio Dominican program. Don played one game in the NFL for the Colorado Tigers. I didn't know the Colorado Tigers even had a team in the NFL. Thank you, Chris. Chris continues to deliver what I asked him to deliver. BC Michigan State last weekend could have been the best under the radar game. That was an interesting game for sure. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember who won. Spartans win that game. I know it went right down to the wire, and now I can't think of who the hell won. We'll pull it up though, Scott. You don't have to bail me out here. Michigan State. Where are you at? Listen, Bill O'Brien's a really good coach, by the way. I knew this score. Oh, yeah, Michigan State pulled it out 42-20. I was just reading about this game. And the BC quarterback had a huge game. Threw for almost 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. Excellent game. Well-played game by, offensively by both teams. And two teams, listen, Michigan State may be on the rise a little bit on the Big Ten scene as well. After the Mel Tucker debacle there and having to pay him about $90 million to go away, Michigan State might be on the mend here, if you will, I guess, for a better terminology for myself. Sorry. Jonathan Smith. I was trying to remember the coach. He came from Oregon State, and Oregon State's really been in the toilet since he got there. And he brought his quarterback along with him. Michigan State's playing much better football. Again, who knows? A team that might surprise in the Big Ten. Not counting on it. College football is going to be a lot different, guys. I mean, I don't see. Everybody wants to talk about the super conferences, the Big Ten, the Big 12, and SEC, not the Big 12. That's the second tier of conferences. But I find the big stories and the fun stories around the peripheral of all of that. Or even within those conferences at the bottom of them. Vanderbilt, great story last year. Don't like them this week against South Carolina. Rick, you'll love South Carolina the way they play football. Two special team touchdowns saved them last week, saved their bacon. And I believe a special teams play helped them the week before. And last week they're only playing South Carolina State. So again, I think it's taking a little time to get their feet under them, but they did last year as well. Just don't have a bad loss here against Vanderbilt at home. The birthday machine. He is a birthday machine. Love it. I have challenged Chris on all my shows to bring up relevant stuff to what we're talking about, college football in this instance, on Sunday, anything, but to bring irreverent. At one point, when I was talking to Chris, I had said irrelevant. I said, you're doing a great job bringing the irrelevant information that I asked for. I meant irreverent. So preseason polls are like girls in high school who think they'll fare out as a 10 or 5 until playing out develops. You might end up missing out on a Jennifer Aniston and settling for a girl that is slinging hash at the Waffle House third shift. Sorry, just saying, you can't judge people too early. I agree. That's an interesting analogy, Michael. Speaking of Jennifer Aniston, my wife and I just started watching the morning show on Apple. It's also on Prime, I think, now, too. We haven't watched any of it. I've heard a lot about it, and we're, I don't know, 5 or 6 episodes in, and it's really, really good. It's a dramedy. The subject matter is interesting, and must have been even more interesting as it happened in real time with the Me Too movement back in 2019 when this show started, I think. But I like it. It's very interesting, and you see behind the scenes and some of the stuff that goes on. Again, it's a television show, but still, it's a lot of fun. And I'm not getting beat over the head with somebody's, at least so far, with somebody's agenda. Well, we are going to jump in a poll here in a second. Rule and Belima. But I don't know. I think that's pretty close, I think. As close as I would get. Great coaches, no doubt. Great call. Yes, best college coach right now, in my opinion, without winning a bankroll, Matt Campbell. You know, it's funny. Matt Campbell either loves it at Iowa State, because Matt Campbell has had now about 3 trips as the hot guy, right? 3 trips around the cycles, the hiring cycles, as the hot guy. He was going to Notre Dame. He was going to Ohio State. He was going to Michigan. He was going to the NFL. He was taking every big job there is out there, and he didn't take any of them in a couple of different cycles. Then he would have a down year. And still, even a down year for him is better than Iowa State did for the great majority of their existence. Great coach and a great team this year. This team might end up like 8-0 here soon. They don't have. Hang on one second. Let me grab them from the poll here. They moved up to 14, by the way, after starting unranked. Here's who they got. Here's who they got the next few weeks. So, again, Iowa, yeah. They haven't really beaten anybody. Kansas State's a good win. I can't say I haven't beaten anybody because you don't know when they're playing. When they played, they were ranked. But they got Arkansas State. They got Arizona at home, who's not very good. They got Cincinnati on the road, who's not very good in my mind. They go to Colorado. I think they'll win that game. They're going to have BYU at home. I might think differently if BYU is going to be hosting that game. Before they get to Arizona State, they could be, is that 8-0? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins. Very good chance they're going to be 8-0 with Arizona State at home. 9-0. They're at TCU. Might be the toughest matchup they get. I got to see more of TCU, but what I saw against North Carolina, and again, I have to remember they were playing against inferior competition, but they looked fast. And I love teams with speed. So they got a couple. The toughest games will probably be that stretch: Arizona State, TCU, and Kansas. Kansas playing good football. Not much defense. And then they close with Oklahoma State, who they will absolutely destroy. Gunnar Rivers, we're plenty of proven this is 2020. Gunnar Rivers is still in high school, isn't he? Chris, I started to check this out. And maybe that's what you mean. I don't know. But Gunnar Rivers, I think, is still... hang on. Yeah, he's at St. Michael Catholic in Alabama, so he's still. So if you guys are saying he's got a lot to prove as far as his senior year in high school, sure. But he's not even a senior. I take that back. He's a class of 2027. So he can't even come out for 2 more years. And right now, the most serious I'm looking at this one scouting site. Auburn, Boston College, Miami, North Carolina State, South Carolina are the highest on his supposed list. But he's a sophomore. Or does that make him a junior? So he's playing now. So his junior be 20. Yeah. So this is his junior season. So he'll be a senior next year. So he got another full year high school before he comes out. And if you don't know who we're talking about, Gunnar Rivers is the son of Philip Rivers. You did catch me by surprise a little bit with that question Sunday or whatever. I think it was Sunday, Chris. Great job. But he's going to be, he'll be hyped coming out of college. Whether he ends up at one of these schools or a bigger name, still to be determined. I am in for a good snot knocker as well myself. Remember this game a couple of years ago? I was in an airport with about 6 delays on my way to vacation, away on vacation. I think I got drunk 3 times before leaving Albany before I got to Miami. But we watched most of this game in a bar in the Atlanta airport, and that was, I can't remember. I want to say it was 2022 maybe. I want to say 2022. They had a snot knocker that day where they went up and down the field. Judge Osunti for the Yankees. Thank you, Michael, for the baseball update. Don't have it on. I should have turned it on here. I've got an old episode of the Star Trek, the original series on right now. Pluto. I'm old, right? Tennessee plus 142 money line. That might be a money line bet. Deion was protecting his coordinator that pooped the bed and blew that clock management. In Michael's opinion, yeah, you probably saw the same press conference I saw where he was explaining. And again, some of his explanation did make sense, but you can't save them for the next game. There are places to use those timeouts. If it wasn't on that last series, he should have used them somewhere. You guys are hot tonight. Does Tarleton State beat K-State? I don't know. It's always fun to play those 6 degrees of separation games on college football. With so-and-so beat so-and-so because so-and-so beat so-and-so. It's always interesting for sure. Well, you in your quiet months, you enjoy them, brother. We're all here for you. Thank you. The problem is, for me, the only one who really understands me is me. That's why I have to have these conversations. And I have started to answer myself. Speaking of Boston, Paul, there he is, the man who feels his team is way underrated. They're ranked 4th. I hear everybody talking about their blowout of Mike Gundy, giving the worst thrashing his team has ever gotten. You got one of the highest payrolls out there and $40 million, and your team will do well. You got another great, or what appears to be a very good, if not great, transfer quarterback. What's underrated? Not going to know anything about this team until, as we said, Paul, or I don't know if you were here, we'll find out about them on the 27th when they get a whiteout at Penn State. And we'll find out about Penn State as well. That's going to be a watershed moment for James Franklin. If he can beat Oregon, assuming Oregon stays in the top 5, and I have no reason to think they will fall out of there before then. They're not losing to Northwestern this week. And next week, who they got next week? Oops, did I lose my poll? I did. That's where I jump off to get most of these guys. We'll go through this AP poll in just a second. Oh, they got Oregon State in 2 weeks. They're terrible. So they're going to go in there at 4-0, ranked in the top 5. I think He's 1-10 against top 5 teams. James Franklin. So you have all the advantages, even though you're on the road in a whiteout. Go prove it. I don't think Franklin's going to give him any bulletin board material like Gundy did, although I don't think they needed it. Oh, my Wisconsin is in the house. Time to leave. Don't go, Danny. Pete Paul is in the house. Oh, Paul. 42-40 double overtime. Excellent football game for sure. University of Toronto varsity blues. Hang on. I got to get my green glasses on here. University of Toronto varsity blues receiver. How come nobody's getting drafted out of these Canadian schools? Maybe they are, and I'm not seeing them. But I'm assuming anybody from Canada is getting signed, as an undrafted free agent. Chris Joseph earned a OUA Athlete of the Week. I don't know what that is. Is that Ontario? I don't know what OUA is, but Athlete of the Week honors for the period ending September 7th, 2025. Joseph tied the U Sports single game record for the second time this season with 19 receptions. Go! Seriously, Chris. And again, I'm not trying to belittle our good friends in Canada. I'm not, I'm not in Washington. Just because I might be a conservative Republican doesn't mean I think we ought to be treating our neighbors to the north as badly as we are. I'm curious, Chris. This is not a loaded question. Can those universities up there, what level could they compete at here? Can they? I'm assuming. Could they compete at the FBS level against the Group of 5 conferences, the American Conference, Conference USA, those conferences? Would they be better suited to play if they were playing here in the States? Play at the FCS level with the South Dakotas and North Dakota states, Tarleton State, some good schools there. Some really good schools have made the jump here in the last few years. James Madison, Old Dominion, Sam Houston State, to name a couple. I think Coastal Carolina just a few years back. So I'm curious if those Canadian universities could compete and what level they could compete at. I don't know. I've never seen a game, quite frankly. South Carolina, Coach Beamer, special teams. It's a Beamer thing. And they even used it to their advantage at Blacksburg 2 weeks ago to help them win. And last week they needed 2 special team touchdowns to really put them over the top against South Carolina State. I like Shane Beamer a lot. If you haven't watched on Netflix, I think it was on Netflix, All or Nothing. I might have talked about this already. All or Nothing started on Prime, and they followed. First one I saw, they followed Michigan years ago. Michael, you might have seen it. It was, I don't know, probably 7 years ago. Then they started following some pro teams through entire seasons, much better than Hard Knocks. It followed them from training camp through the season. They did a lot of soccer, European soccer, following, I think, Manchester United, maybe some others, some other full seasons. Did some really, really good stuff. A couple of hockey installments through the years. And I just noticed a couple of weeks ago that they had an All or Nothing on Netflix. I don't know if they moved platforms or what, but it was SEC. So they followed the SEC all last year, and you saw inside a bunch of these programs. And South Carolina was heavily looked at. Vanderbilt was heavily followed. Probably the teams that would give them access, right? So we saw more behind the scenes stuff, but it's really good, guys. If you haven't seen it, it's a great watch. I think it's maybe 6 episodes. And it goes through the whole season, and you see the ups and downs that these programs go through. And Shane Beamer comes out really looking good in this. And so does the coach, his name's escaping me right now, from Vanderbilt. He's a hometown boy. Where is he? Oh, Clark Lee. Yeah, Clark Lee. Great, man. That guy, his players will run for a wall for him. Great coach. Chris F. Gray, formerly known as Chris from Cambridge, is the man with the voice. Chris will call me. Chris will call on the, I don't know if you guys even know you can do this, but on Messenger, I mean, you can send a voice message through Messenger, right? And Chris will send me one or two. I swear he's got a different voice every single time. I think the other day Chris was using his real voice, and I was like, who the hell is this? Somebody stole Chris's identity. But he's got some awesome voices, great voice for radio or podcasting. But great stuff. Chris from Cambridge is the man. I'm not sure what terrible is here. Paul has a way of putting up one word comments. Paul, help me. You got to give me some context, dude. Maybe whoever that's meant for understands what he's talking about. Paul, help me out. Came in left. Did we touch on Arch? I talked about Arch. We can talk some more about Arch now. Look, he had a bad first game. Here's my thought. I think his game against Ohio State would have been much better if he'd started off playing San Jose State in week 1. Got his feet under him. Remember, these guys don't play any preseason games. He'd had only about 100 snaps in live college games up until then. None against top-notch competition that I can think of. And he's under the brightest of lights in opening day. And I'm not trying to excuse away anything. He was awful. But for people to jump off his bandwagon the way he did, they let Arch play his game last week, and he played pretty well. And I think you'll see Arch probably. Do I think he's going to win the Heisman? I don't. I also think he'll be back there next year for his senior year, and he will win the Heisman. And I think he will continue to grow as a quarterback. You got to remember, it's a guy who hasn't played a whole lot. I don't know why we get on people so much. We jump on bandwagons and we jump off them so quickly. And I'm guilty of it sometimes. Danny will tell you I am. I did give Arch some props for beating Sisters of Mercy in PA. San Jose State. I mean, again, this is a Division I football team. Yes, take into consideration they weren't playing the best competition. This week, actually, they played worse. Well, they got UTEP this week, so again, it's not Ohio State. I'm not telling you that, Arch is one of the top 5 quarterbacks in college football. I'm not. I'm telling you he will get better, and he'll probably be what we thought he would be. Actually, could he ever be what people thought he would be? When you're built up and put on a pedestal the way people like Paul Feinbaum have for years. I mean, he chose to go to a place he knew he wouldn't play for 2 years. Oh, what's this? Chris, Trey Griffey, Eric McGriff. Where are they now? I don't know. I can honestly say, Chris, I don't know. Who surprised me the most? Well, from a bad standpoint, Kansas State has surprised me more than anybody in the country. From a good standpoint, Florida State, easily. Again, we can belittle them playing the Little Sisters of the Poor last week as well. But again, I mean, they beat I still think what will be a good Alabama team in week 1. They're a big surprise. Tennessee, if they beat Georgia, I'm going to put it. South Florida, although I like them coming into the season as having a chance to be one of those group of 5 contenders for the playoff spot, and by winning the the American. It's only the American Conference now. I mean, I didn't necessarily think they would whoop Boise State the way they did, because again, maybe Boise's not as good as we thought they'd be, or preseason polls again being what they are. But Florida brought back a lot of guys, including a quarterback who played really well the end of last year. And Billy Napier again can't get it done. So South Florida's probably a good surprise. Auburn, I liked Auburn coming in. So I'm not going to call them surprise. Some others might. I think the biggest, again, I think Kansas State is the biggest disappointing surprise, Scott. And I'll call Florida State the biggest surprise so far. Whether that win was worth jumping them from about, I don't think I've ever seen a team jump from the 40s to number 10. And maybe I'm off, and they weren't quite in the 40s, but they're damn close. Why? Give me one reason, Paul, why. Please, again, this is not. You have to be realistic, and I'm not, Paul. Please take this away. I mean, I'm not trying to beat you up, but I'll let Danny do that. That's Danny's shot. Why would they be? How could they be number 1 over either LSU or Ohio State? Based on what? Ohio State beat Texas, the number 2 team in a poll. Again, forget about the numbers. It doesn't even matter. Just think about the programs they played. They beat Texas at home handily. Sorry, the scoreboard didn't show how much, in my mind, they were better that day. Penn State, fine. You want to say they should be ranked over Penn State? That's fine, because they haven't played anybody either. But LSU beat Clemson. At Clemson. And again, forget about the polls. It's still the best win. The 2 best wins are by the 1st and the 3rd ranked teams in the country. So you tell me, in what universe Oregon should be considered over either one of them for winning their games over Montana State and the worst Oklahoma State team in 100 years, and scoring 127 points. They're really good, Paul. Is that good enough? And 4 doesn't mean anything. 1 doesn't mean anything right now. Go win the Big Ten. You got to win the Big Ten. Nothing else matters. Go win the Big Ten. Don't worry about the polls. But you can. There's not anything that you can do to convince me that they should be number 1 right now. All I'm doing is looking at the first 2 games. They played nobody. Ohio, and so if you want to say they should be above Penn State and be 3rd, well, fine. I'll give you that. But LSU and Ohio State have to be ranked ahead of them until further notice. Canadian College would be equal to FCS for the most part, for sure. It's fair. It's kind of what I was thinking. I thought maybe they might be competitive with the, lower tier group of 5 leagues. At least the better part of them, maybe if not the top teams in those leagues. Your opinion is as good as anybody else's right now, because I don't have one. I've never seen and I guess I'm gonna have to take a look at some tape of college Canadian universities playing football. The dude is a true coach. He is, man. Along the lineage of Danny Fuller, that's the utmost compliment and respect you could give the man. He's a great coach. I tell you, you watch him, and again, I know I'm watching a TV show, edited and blah, blah, blah. He just comes across, you can tell, at least I can. I feel like I can, when people are not being sincere. I'm sincere. What you get is me all the time. It's good sometimes, it sucks sometimes. But you get me. I like when I can see that, and I feel like I can see it in people. There's a lot of people I know in my life, I know they're not being sincere to me. In my work life, I used to mess with them like crazy. In sports, you can spot them a mile away most of the time. But Clark Lee, this guy looks like the real deal. Shane Beamer, same way. And if you watch this miniseries, you'll get a lot of insight into Beamer and Coach Lee as well as some other teams as well. It was really a lot of fun to watch. Chris likes voice messages. They're the best. Oh, I love them. Always puts a smile on my face. Like Arch, pulling for him. I'm pulling for him too. There's no reason. Again, he's one of those guys. People are going to root against him for no other reason than people have been, hyping him up for so long. We got to root against him. He needs to fail because he can't possibly be as good, and he probably can't be as good as what people have been hyping him up to be. I'm not a person who ever does that. For me to root against you, you better give me a good reason, unless you're a Red Sox or a Jet or Giant. Just kidding. Reminds me of a movie with never mind. Who's the English actor I like? He's like 90 years old now. Michael. Oh my God! I just read an article about him the other day. I can't remember what it was. I think the movie the line is in his Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, but he was talking about how the fact that he really hated, people just hating on people of certain nationalities or religions or whatever. He says, oh God, I can't remember it now. So never mind. I screwed the whole thing up. It's a great line. It's Michael Caine, by the way, and I'll get the line for you because I can't do it. I can't do it justice. Oh, he's talking about how he really hates people who just, stereotype and hate people just for the sake of hating them. I hate anybody who does that type of thing, and the Dutch. That's a very funny line. And I screwed it up. Anyway, there you go. Yankees still up 1-0. Warren dealing for now. I got Warren going on my fantasy team tonight. That's good. I'll answer for Scott Colby. I can't answer for Scott Colby. I'm assuming he's in Boston and he roots for Boston teams, so I'm assuming BC's his favorite team. But which you see their home field behind me. And I rooted for quite some time. Since a good friend of mine's son played football there and played on the offensive line behind Matty Ice, Matt Ryan, and Josh Beekman also got drafted into the NFL by the Bears that year. But we spent 3 years going to BC to pretty much a lot of games, not all of them. Made a few road trips too, Syracuse and Blacksburg. Billy Napier might end up on your local high school calling the plays on Friday night. Watch for it. Listen, it's going to be tough, man, because that's a bad loss for them. Helped along by the spitting incident of the silly defensive player who I hope Billy Napier is not playing this week. That helped spark South Florida's last drive. And they're going to have a hard time, this team, going to LSU and winning right now. LSU's playing really good football. I'm waiting to get to. I do like Miami. Yeah. I'm not telling you they should be ranked number one. They beat Notre Dame. They should be ranked in front of. If I want to use your logic, Paul, I guess they should be ranked ahead of Oregon. I guess Listen, Miami's got a season-defining stretch coming up here. They've got South Florida this week, Florida, Florida State, all back to back to back. So we're going to know in 3 weeks how good or bad or in between Miami is. So, yeah, Danny Pounds will be enough. I'm not picking on you, I promise. Oh, there you go. Well, that's the best. I can't. See, you put the one thing up there that I can't argue with, Paul. That's a good team. I know they're loaded, but so's Ohio State, so's Penn State. You know, there's a bunch of loaded teams. You got to play and win games. Loaded doesn't win you anything, right? Wins you nothing. Doesn't get ranked number one. Who cares whether you're ranked number one anyway? If being number 4 of a big disrespect, look, if you're ranked 25th in the country, I tell you, you're being disrespected. And I'll remind you, from my own standpoint, I picked your team to win the Big Ten this year and get a top seed in the playoff, which is all that matters. And then winning there, by the way. Let's not forget. The Quacks got number 1 last year, and what happened? Just asking Wisconsin. I like the you like this time slot? That would add another day to days I got to do shows, though, because I do it Wednesdays, and I can do the 6 o'clock show and go to this. So again, tell me, Chris, you're saying Tuesday at 7 is good? Better than Wednesday at 7? Are you off on Tuesdays and not Wednesdays or something at night? I would send my players to play for C League, Coach Lee. There you go. I would too, based on what I saw, but I'm probably not having any kids at this point. Paul, that is totally wrong, and LSU and Ohio State have by far the best wins. Well, again, Scott, we can't argue with the argument that he put up. The only evidence he gave me is that he's a huge Oregon fan who thinks they should be number 1. It is totally wrong, though. Again, as I said, LSU and Ohio State have the best wins. Who has Oregon and played anybody? I don't think they're as good as last year either. We'll find out in 2 weeks. I had to, throw that in there. Michael Caine, that's what I see. Yeah, thank you, Danny. It comes to me. I swear to God, I read an article. It may not have been yesterday. I think it was earlier today. He's supposed to be coming out of retirement at 92 to be in a movie. I'm not saying lead a movie. Love Michael Caine. Michael, I'm a huge BC fan. There you go, going back to the days of Flutie to Phelan. We all remember that call. Brett Musburger in the Orange Bowl. I wasn't a big Miami fan then. That came with marriage. And I liked BC. I've always been, when it comes to college football, I'm not a bandwagon jumper, especially doing stuff like I'm doing here. I like stories, right? I like great stories. Indiana was a great story last year. Notre Dame being good is always a great story. Again, I talk about this a lot. Already 809. We still got to do picks. We got to look at some of the games this week. Good show, guys. You guys are throwing some good stuff out there. What was I going to say? We always talk about, leagues. Some leagues are, baseball's better when the Yankees are good. Sorry. And the Red Sox. College football's better when Notre Dame's good. Alabama's good. I'll give you Georgia. Probably not as big a deal. USC. Sorry, Danny. Texas. Oregon's not a blue blood. Sorry, I'm not throwing them in that list. But And Michigan, by the way, Michigan, Ohio State, and those are other ones. Bellinger just went deep. Yanks 2-0. Thanks. Speaking of spitting, Jalen Carter's playing Sunday against KC. He missed the whole game. So, by the way, the instance with the Florida State player was far worse in my mind because he spit one right into the kid's face mask. Now the spitting sucks anyway. It's supposed to one of the most disrespectful things you can do with a person outside of killing or raping them. Happy I can see that distinction. And Alan, congratulations on your Sooners. We'll see if they're Michigan's, again, not to belittle Michael's Michigan Wolverines, but, we'll see how good they are going forward. I'm not confident this Michigan team is as good as some others think. Oops, sorry. Alan, you're also welcome, Buckeye fans. They don't care. They want to beat them themselves. Cowboy Jack Bicknell. Absolutely. Jack Bicknell was a really good coach back in the day at BC, 100%. FWP, no stanky updates on the show. That's why I move on pretty quickly from that. Most relevant comments in this option. What is it? Most relevant comments is an option for the Facebook chat. Who decides who's relevant and who's isn't? The host. The most irrelevant of all. Oh, you guys are great. Except I can't help myself with the Yankee updates. I move on quickly. I should have put it on. I don't want to fumble with the remote now to do it. So we're watching what episode am I watching here of Star Trek, by the way? Well, I can't really tell. I probably shouldn't watch it. Let's go through give you some picks in our pick'em. By the way, here's where we stand after 2 weeks. Beamer Ball has got 14. Let me make sure this is it is. J Train James Martin has 13. Alan's got 13. Great job. TGI Sports Talk at 12. Rick is at 11. FWP. Who is that, by the way? Is that you, Michael? I couldn't remember. Yeah, I guess it is. It has 11. If you ain't cheating, that's Brian Arts. He's at 11. Danny's at 11. Boston Paul's at 10. The generic, and then we got a generic guy at 7 and a generic guy at 6. And the one with 6 is picked 20 games, by the way. The other one's only picked 10, so it's not very good. And Kenny did not put picks in. So this week, here's my picks for this week from the pool selections, and we'll talk about a couple other big games coming up this weekend as well. You guys can put some comments up, and I'll get to them in just a second. In the Clemson Georgia Tech game, I like Georgia Tech at home getting some points here. To win the game, this is a must win. This is a really big win for Clemson. I'm going to take Clemson in this game. I may end up betting this the other way with the points. We'll see. Memphis against Troy. Memphis 2-0. Going to Troy, who gave Clemson a tussle. Troy's not a bad football program, by the way, but I'll take Memphis in this conference game. I will take Tennessee in Rocky Top over Georgia. Banged up quarterbacks in Georgia and all. Let's take them. Washington State, 2 of the remaining Pac-12 teams until next year when they start back up as a football conference. Washington State will go to play Texas. They'll be conference mates next year. I'm going to take Washington State in this game. And Washington State quarterbacks, you can put Mateer down because he didn't play great second half. The Washington State quarterbacks have done pretty well for themselves as they transfer out of Cougar land. So I'll take Washington State in this game. No, Pitt will go to West Virginia. This is what do they call this one? A backyard brawl, or it's got one of those cute nicknames. I think Pittsburgh's even a bit underrated possibly this year. I like Pittsburgh over West Virginia. We've got Appalachian State at Southern Miss. App State is the prohibitive favorite here. I will take App State on the road. Texas A&M's got to travel to South Bend to play Notre Dame, another big game this weekend. I will take the Fighting Irish in this game. And excuse me if I'm, I know we had to take the Fighting Leprechaun out of the logo to, I'm sure somebody was offended. We'll take South Carolina over Vanderbilt. Sorry, Coach Lee. I'm going to take Coach Beamer over Coach Lee in this game. South Carolina's got to play better than they played the last 2 weeks. So this is a very, very tough Vanderbilt team. I love their quarterback as well. I'm trying to think of his name. Somebody can probably give it to me while I'm doing this. Duke is traveling to Tulane. I like Tulane a lot in this game. And lastly, we have Minnesota and Cal. Both of them 2-0. Cal went up and played, I want to say Oregon State, and beat them on the road. They're not very good. Not sure what they did last week, who they played, but I'll take Cal at home in this game. So there you have it, friends, Romans, countrymen. Get your picks in. Do not forget. And we'll look at some other games, too. Some other games of note this week, by the way. Here's some big games I wrote down. We got, obviously, Georgia at Tennessee, we talked about. South Florida at Miami. I'm a Miami fan. That line's a little big for me. But I like Miami to win this game. Maybe not by the points. A&M and Notre Dame, we talked about. Oregon goes to Northwestern. Oregon should win for fun. Clemson, Georgia Tech, we just talked about. Wisconsin at Alabama. Luke Fickell's in a pickle at Wisconsin. He needs to have a better season. He needs a winning season. He needs a bowl game. He's gonna not get a win going to Alabama as they continue their rebound tour, if you will. I'd watch for an upset here, possibly Ole Miss, Arkansas going to Ole Miss. I'd watch out for an upset there. Florida's got to go to LSU. Billy Napier, we've already talked about on the show. I think LSU is going to they're going to win this game. South Carolina and Vandy I talked about. And for our military institutes, I believe Army is on a bye. And Navy will visit Tulsa. Navy's got a chance to win that American, by the way, and be, again, that group of is this thing getting in my way? I think it is. Be that group of 5 playoff participant. And Air Force will go to Utah State. Rocco Mendenhall 1-1 in his first season in Utah. So what do we got here? Pavia, I just saw the name. Thank you. Where did I leave off? Where's my last comment here? I'm going to go backwards in a second, but thank you for that, Michael. Diego Pavia, the Vandy quarterback. That guy is a spark plug. He gets a lot of camera time in this miniseries as well, by the way. Why FWP? I'm not sure I get it. Is that like I don't get the code. When they hit a homer, how do the Yankees? Do the Yankees know how to run the bases? Barely, Scott. We'll dive into that in another show. Sooners deserve the Boomer Schooner laps. All good. Michigan is going to be just fine. We'll take a look at their schedule again next week. Who's Michigan got this week, by the way, Michael? Respect Star Trek on Pluto. My go-to is Gunsmoke. I do the same. Listen, I'm all over the Westerns and the old crime dramas. I'm a big Columbo fan, and I'll watch the sci-fi, the Star Trek channel when it's the original Star Trek. But I love the old detective shows, Barnaby Jones, Columbo, McMillan. Love them. I'm not in the contest because I don't want to. You're going to say this to us every time now, Scott? I'm not in the contest because I don't want to embarrass all of you with my expertness after my NCAA pools. Well, then we just spotted you 2 weeks, so get in now and then show us how good you are. Can your pick 2 games into the season get vaulted? Can your picks 2 games into the season get vaulted as a lock of the week? I'm not sure what we were asking me there, Chris. I still don't understand how West Virginia lost to Ohio U. I really don't. That blows my mind. Yeah, Ohio's like who they got this week? They play Ohio State, and they're like a 38-point dog or something. West Virginia's not very good. Even Pat McAfee, who's an alumni of West Virginia, very good punter back in his day, is not very high on his alma mater. We talked about Pavia. You have Pavia in your fantasy league. I wish I'd thought to have you guys see if you had an opening in that league. I would like to have done that. I've never played college fantasy sports. I think it would have been fun. I didn't think about it until it was way too late. Yep, Diego Pavia. Got a lot of love for Pavia. Fickle in a pickle, right? Navy's solid. I always root for Horvath's a really good quarterback too. I always root for the boys to serve. I do too as well. I always and I give out their. I'll talk about the games a little bit if I can. At least give the scores on Sunday mornings. You'll always hear me give the scores for sure. So enjoy your jet setting. We're not jet setting too much. We're just taking a ride into Vermont for a couple of days, staying at bed and breakfast, and we're going to check out oh God, what's the name of the place now? Hildene. It's a Lincoln home where Abe Lincoln's son. Abe Lincoln spent some time there, but his son owned this home in Vermont. It's a big tourist thing. They got an old Pullman train car there and stuff. So wrap a towel around that noggin. Case Magic football picks. I use a Magic 8 ball actually, Chris, to make my picks. So I hold my own. I do, the cigar box. I do better in college than I do in the pros, but I still like to bet some games on Sunday, so I don't waste. You can only bet X amount of money a week in the cigar box. So I usually will bet 3 college games and 3 pro games. And so far in college, I am 5-2, and I'm not that good in the pros. 0-3 last week. Michigan plays Central Michigan this week. There you go. That's right, Central Michigan. Guy, those games can always be close. That Central Michigan's not. Well, I don't know if they're the one. There's one of those teams. Western Michigan, I guess, is the team that I think of being the best of those directional schools in Michigan. Fantasy World Pierce Mike's handling for what's that? Fantasy World Peace Mike's handle for fantasy sports. Oh, I get it. FWP. I get it. Jeez, I'm a little slow in the uptake. Thank you, though, Paul. That helps me a lot. That's the kind of thing I need, so I know what the hell we're talking about. Now, see, I just threw the gauntlet down to Scott, and he's going to jump in there and kick our asses for the next, 10 weeks. He probably will. Scott's pretty good, I'll tell you right now. And there you go. His lock of the week is Georgia over Tennessee, and I'm all over Tennessee. Scott will make money this week, and I won't. Watch it on lock of the weekend. I gave everyone Bryant on the money line. Bryant on the money line plus 425 over UMass at 1. Scott, if you and I need to chat, because if you're betting Bryant and UMass we may need an intervention. I'm just saying we might need to talk. I'm not very good, but I still beat the 12-year-old neighbor in a game of one-on-one basketball. UVO, WVU versus Ohio. Will you have a spot in our league next year? Oh, cool. Please remind me. I know I threw something out to Danny. I didn't know who ran it. I said something to Danny. I knew it was way too late, but as I didn't think of it until like I think the first week of the season. I thought about it. Because you guys would banter about it, and Paul would ask me who I would play sometimes over one guy over another or whatever, and yeah, I'd never done a fantasy league in college, and it sounded like fun. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Keith performs his Karnak, the Magnificent, in the living room to pick up his. I do. Actually, no. I have a Magic 8 ball that I shake. Here it is. Not really a Magic 8 ball. Send me a link you asked for. You got it. All right. Let me in. I'll do that. I'll do that right when I get done here, Scott. I'll send it. I'll put it in Messenger. I give out a plus 400 on the show every week, and Bryant over UMass is. I know UMass is, by the way, the worst team in the country, taking over for Kent State, who actually won a game already this year. So, well done. Here, thank you, Paul. And thanks for being such a good sport about Oregon. I mean, I'm sorry they're not number one, but Michael, have a great night. You're welcome. And thank you. As Michael says, I thank it to you. Thank you guys too, because the banter on the show is fun. All my shows. It's you guys that make them go. And remember, I want to remind you guys when we do them, the Jack and Keith weekend playbook, it's a little bit different. Sometimes I might miss a comment or not put it up, only because when you're working with a co-host, and I'm sure Scott, I know, has worked with other people. Alan worked with other people. It's a little harder because you got to stay on target and not go backwards. I'm not afraid to go backwards when I'm on my own here, and I get all the comments up, and it's important to me. But with Jack, I try to keep us on track so that I don't throw him off. He sometimes his head will explode sometimes if he's moved on and we got to go backwards. So. But we have a lot of fun. Your guys' participation in my shows is so appreciated. You have no idea. You and we have a lot of other guys too that pop in that don't necessarily come into the college show, and they might only come to the Major League Baseball, or they might only come to Sundays. And some of you guys come to all of them. And love you all, and you guys all do a great job of keeping this show moving along. And I try to keep up with you as best I can. So we'll be off till Sunday morning as we go out to Vermont, get some maple syrup and some Vermont beer and have some fun. Got a beautiful bread and breakfast we're staying at. Very happy. By the way, we just booked an Alaska cruise. So those who don't know, I got a couple minutes. I don't know why I'm talking about this now, but so we have a cruise in November, 2-week cruise in November. And we're going to stay a few days with my in-laws at their new place in Orlando, or near Orlando. So we'll be gone, but we'll still do shows. We'll talk about that. Then in February, we got another 2-week cruise, and we just booked one for July. I think 10 days. I'm not sure. On Alaska cruise, which we've been dying to do. And we were waiting till I retired. And then we'll be booking a river cruise in Europe, probably, I don't think it'll be next year. It'll probably be 27, assuming I'm still here. Hey, I'll have an awesome night. You guys are terrific, Scott says. Keith, remember the pickleball final is tomorrow. Get some rest. In fantasy, I'd have Iowa D and UMass versus UMass. You're in good shape, Paul. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a contributor to you. Listen, read Michael's articles, by the way. Good stuff, great stuff. And Michael, you're getting a lot of views. I'll tell you, you're getting each. when I look at the insights, it's, like 600 or 700 views without much promotion. I share it to my page. John Gonzalez lets me share it to Sports Authority. So great job and great writing, and we need to get more people following it. We should do a cruise with this entire group, right? And probably get thrown off, but we'd have some fun anyway. So anyway, guys, we got to wrap it up for tonight. Great to have you with us. Thank you so much. Here's your applause for you guys. Great job. Thank you so much. Oh, my applause went off. Anyway, see you later. Keith Engle for TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. Enjoy the games. We'll see you on Sunday. Bye-bye.